Their planning and zoning commission meeting started. Roll call, Margot Knipple, I am here. Tyler Lane. Laura Kelly. She's coming in tonight. She's with me. Gary Nelson. Tommy
Here.
Glenn Borchowski. He is not here at present, but maybe showing up. Right. And two, review and approval of minutes from the April 25th, 2023 meeting. Allison, before there's a motion, I just want to say thank you. That was a lot of information that everybody did. Thank you. So everybody's had the opportunity to look at them. If I have a motion for approval. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, new business, workshop for the transportation corridor planning, comprehensive plan text and zoning ordinance text amendment. Jeff, you have a presentation or if you'd like to see comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. So, why we have to go through this tonight, and it is really good tonight. Workshop at the end of this month, I believe. So I'm going to turn this over to them. What I have done is I've gone through page by page. That's two. Corrections.
So for our at the meeting, we're just going to review the project schedule that remains, then review the draft plan, as Jeff said, and then we'll review our next steps for wrapping up here. For this month, once we're finished with this workshop tonight, we'll revise this draft plan into a final version based on the recommendations, any of the formatting issues that we see. The draft plan open house to present the final draft will be on May 30th at Kennedy Park at 5 p.m. In June, we'll recommend the comprehensive plan for adoption and draft the zoning and subdivision ordinance revisions, and then recommend those revisions in July. We'll start looking at the maps. This is the existing land use map, and I'll let take it over.
Yep, this one you have seen. Obviously, I marked that Paragon. It's Nelson, pretty much all the way up to US 20, and then Whale of that. Looks like so that fixed. That's fine. Yeah, existing land use. I don't know. We've looked at that a few times, but obviously, if there were some small edits or that kind of thing, we're happy to make those at any point. I say that in general, like, you know, however you guys want to get edits to us. If you want to scan and send them, if you want to put them in a document, like, we're fine with however we want to do that. Going through page by page tonight, if there's some big concepts, let's talk about them. I think that's important. But if it's, some editing things here and there, some grammar, that kind of stuff, we can all, we'll go through them, but send them to us.
Yeah. So probably the best we're going to do. So get my edits.
Okay.
Anybody wants to give me their edits by the end of this week, drop them off.
So yeah, if you would. So future land use. This one we've looked at as well. There's not a lot of major changes from your previous future land use map. The big change, obviously, that we're going through as part of this process is the overlays and how those will impact people requesting future land use changes. And so that, sorry, go ahead.
There were two changes that I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
The agricultural transition areas, and then
Yeah.
you'll notice that we removed the mobile home district.
Yep. Okay.
With the anticipation that that would be an ordinance revision as well.
Yes, that it'll be,
So you say,
we removed it as a separate future land use district. It would be an allowed use with a conditional use permit. Yeah, they're, I mean, are they in the county proper? I mean, are they in the,
I don't even know, I mean, I went through.
they're,
You did previously.
Yeah.
And there's a zoning district for it. Yeah.
actually, go to the next, this. Yeah, this might explain it. So your zoning districts.
We took it out
Okay,
because we were anticipating removing it from the ordinances. as
and
well,
just putting it into R2 with
As a
the,
condition.
as a conditional
Does
use
the
in
R,
R2.
R3
We're gonna put it in, if it's, I mean, we can certainly add it in and say, yep, have an R3, that's fine.
Okay. Oh, yeah, put it back,
Okay,
because I mean, yeah. So we're having this discussion. Is that there is stuff out there that's zone R3.
Okay.
So.
okay, so we will add that R3 back in there, not transition, and so in the land use part, that would just be probably compatible with urban residential or partially compatible, meaning that you'd want to review, obviously, the whole parts that would be. Okay,
I think, we kind of want to get. This one. So when you look at this. I think this is
good and sweet.
short and sweet.
I like it.
I mean, I can understand why you may have listed some of this. So if someone comes in and requests a zoning change, it's gotta be consistent.
Yeah.
So that's what this matrix does.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they have to change the land use. For any zone change.
Right. The partially, yeah, partially compatible, we certainly can take that out, that's not.
Let's get.
It could be a little
Get rid of the gray, you know, because I mean, you need to go. Have a case, well, it's partially compatible, and then we're gonna deny it, because it's partially, it's not totally compatible. Reason why.
Right. Okay. Well, that's easy. Add R3 zoning in, take out
R3,
PCs and follow this chart for the just compatible.
We don't have a whole.
So, but it would be compatible with your urban residential
Yep.
land use. Yeah. Right. Meaning that if somebody wanted to come in. If somebody wanted to come in and say, I'd like to start a mobile home park, you would say to them, okay, well, that is a compatible district, that zoning district, that is that R3 that you'd have to rezone to is compatible with our urban residential land use.
If
So,
you wanna be in the urban area with
Yep.
your services.
yep, so where, then, so you tell them to look at the future land use map and say, okay, you need to look for urban residential areas, and that's a compatible use, and then go from there. With their rezoning request at that point, because they want them to initiate that request, not you guys.
So these two maps that you had in our pack. They're a review of previous plan. These are. what we
As a land use classification, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah,
We're not taking it out of the zoning,
No,
we're just not putting it in the future land use because we're putting all of that under under your land use
Yeah.
classification. Yep.
talk about.
So
East of
Yeah, east of Duncan.
I don't even know if there's anything left there, so I'm just campers, but.
That's what I wanted. I know it was an issue or. That's what I was. It was kind of grandfathered. It was kind of started before. I think somebody.
yeah, so the R three is lovely.
It was just that corridor over.
Justin.
So is there a way on this to identify those? Be able to zoom in so you know exactly. And some of those are, you know, open distances. Some wider than others, you know, which is fine.
Yeah, why don't we,
Or should we be labeling that?
Would it
use
be,
that in a spread to the transportation chapter
Yeah.
and zoom in each of those areas so that we can see it with each parcel?
Yeah, you know,
yeah, actually,
what the depth is.
we just add, we could add some pages where you just zoom into each one of those areas, add the aerial, so you can actually see, you know, kind of what that covers. And
Yeah, just so we have a clear picture next time. Otherwise, that just looks.
Yep.
We want to make sure they're ready. They come in.
now, when people come in, you guys use like your beacon site, and we can eventually, whatever we create as part of this process, once it's all adopted, we can send that to the beacon folks and have them upload it. Now that's not gonna help somebody who's just picking up the document, and we wanna make it easy for them as well, but for you, I think we send them that layer, and then you'd be able to just turn it on and say, yes, this parcel's in it, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll add those, zoom into each one of those, you know, it'll add a few pages to that transportation piece right after this map. So after the map on that transportation overlay district.
I don't care. I mean, you may want to come up with a name for each one. I mean, based on characteristics. 59, you know. I think what we
Yeah, you could do.
kind of want to, because I think this is going to help once we start drafting the zoning text amendments.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the requirements, P59.
Yeah, you could do Barnum, you could do Moreland, you could do Gower, you could do Harcourt, you could do Duncombe, US 20.
Whatever you want to call them, you know, I don't know, you guys think we're just talking.
Yeah.
The name.
Northwest Fort Dodge, and you could do either, you know, southeast Fort Dodge or Quail and Highway 20 overlay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I think what the day once you start.
Yep.
Been any problems, Jeff? You talked about them being different. If we go ahead and name them, give them a location-based name. If there are different requirements, different ones, any sort of legal challenge to that. Why is it different out of the Barnum?
Yeah. No, there's not. I mean, as long as it goes through the proper process of adoption and people have the opportunity to provide feedback, that would be the time where you know, they could say that. It would be no different than having different residential zoning districts and saying this one allows this density of development, this one allows this, you know, or has these restrictions to it in terms of permitted uses or, accessory uses, that type of thing.
Okay, so next is to just go through the implementation.
That's kind of, things that reading around the presentation, we talked, well, and they're all the way to.
Yep.
That's a separate. I'm gonna start with something, I don't wanna take anything away. So under, again, these are just topics. The county elements, page 3, I think what we want to put in there down the road, that's why these are goals. Something that says plan developments to protect the rural / natural environment. Because I can see, down the way, plus chapter 3 house. That kind of makes sense to establish a goal.
So
Adopting a PUD district, land development district to cluster density on environment sensitive. Remember, we consider all one here, take your density and push it to something that's closer to
yeah, do the conservation type style thing.
Yeah, it's
Not-
as opposed to, we don't have anything in our. More
Okay.
creative development types. So
Yeah.
that'd be,
So you guys have PUD probably in, it's not in the ordinance? Okay, so we'll need to,
That's.
okay.
been,
Create and utilize land unit development for,
rural, natural, agricultural environment. So to speak,
sensitive. Yeah, I think so. The goal, something like that, and then we'd have some objectives that would dig in a little bit more. And actually, we have some little graphics we could follow that we've used in some other stuff that shows the difference between a traditional rural subdivision, where it's, just basically you take the whole thing and divide it out, and a cluster subdivision where you kind of cluster them into multi-lot, and then a conservation where you want the topography and natural resources to kind of basically fit lots in, and then the rest of it in those sense, a lot of times that goes into an outline. So, so it is protected for the people that would be part of that. Probably draw it up there, make more sense.
typically it would be dumped into association. Rest of association. System and establishing still association. Association. It's a selling. So it's gonna give or take, and they're gonna go ahead and get this density. They're gonna be clustered. If you were to lay it all out. 2 acre lots, but all these trees. It's a lot cheaper. Negotiated. Density's not gonna change. Current land issue. so units, it's just
Smaller, allow for a smaller lot, enough for, obviously they still have to have room for a well and a private
like
septic.
say
type
they
thing.
take a 40-acre lot. Well, you're not gonna do each unit. Each small. Thermal, this will be out. The association. 5 years.
These things, I hope so.
Preserving it. Allows them to go keep that as preserve it. We get some developers. We.
Jeff, do you want that as a separate goal in your housing, or do you want that, I think it could fit as a strategy on number 2 of the housing goal? Yep, and then we'll put 2 strategies and 2 action items for each strategy.
I have one as part of another.
Stories.
Yeah, that we've had that I've used before.
It sounds like something I've seen, I wanna say north of Story City.
You probably would in that area, that
Yeah.
up along the river there, along the Skunk. So traditional, if you look at a traditional rural subdivision would basically take that entire, say that's a 40 or whatever, whatever it is, take the whole thing and basically, yep, everybody's lot goes till, the next one and that kind of thing. Whereas a conservation development, you get a smaller lot size and all of, so those are, trails or creeks or whatever topography you want to protect. And then it's a smaller lot size. Obviously, it still has to be big enough for your, primary, secondary septic fields. And your
Typically, when they plan for that, you're gonna get a much better lot. Privacy in your backyard, like.
yeah. Well, I
As
say
opposed to backing up, you're gonna be more.
all the green area then usually goes into an outlot. So those people, it's not a lot that can be developed in the future, and they have it as part of their, that conservation piece. And a lot of times it then goes under, it either could be deeded to the county to, maintain, or it could be put into the homeowners association, basically, for that subdivision to be in charge of maintaining it under a developer's agreement. Yep, I would say that's why we usually just make them do it as an outlaw, because then it's very, very clear that it can't be developed. That it's not, an outlot is not a buildable lot. So. Yeah, that's just an example
Well,
of,
those could be like 20-acre lots on the left.
right. It also tends to help a little bit with affordability too, because you're not having to buy, you know, like somebody could buy, they can buy a 5-acre parcel and still get that rural feel with that, you know, conservation sort of thing, but they're not having to buy 10 acres or 12 acres or 15 acres or whatever it is, and still get that same kind of rural feeling. With some access. Was it a? You know what? Sorry.
There's.
No, I just can't stay. Yes, it's been answered. So tackle that.
Yeah, the way they would come, the way you guys would see that once it gets set up is you would basically put in that planned unit development is an allowable district. We don't need to put it on the future land use map because that would be up for them to come and say, I'd like to rezone to a planned unit development, and they provide the site plan or the preliminary plat really would be probably what you would end up looking at as part of that rezoning process. So you get the rezoning application to planned unit development, and it would have its own basically bulk regulations within what that they were proposing, like these are the setbacks and all that kind of stuff. You'd review all of that along with that preliminary plat all at the same time. Sorry, no.
Becomes its own zoning district. You have established through the review its own setbacks. And we want to make sure we understand the feel of it.
So if I'm doing that in my spot here, I just want to do that as we just call it.
It's a residential, talking about commercial.
No, I know, that's, you know where I'm going with that. So how does that look like?
Well, first thing, it's gonna be, first of all, it's gonna be compatible. It'll be listed as a zoning district up here in the matrix. It'll be compatible with just your residential districts. You're gonna allow for. So yeah, it's already, the land use is already there. It's the exact. Change the land use. Right. Just land use or some other land use. Maybe work.
Yes, and that's my concern is thinking about some of the areas where something like that could go in.
Well, yeah, that's why we go through that requires a public hearing because it's easily. We need to step back. It's on. Lays out. See everything there.
Can't that all be done without me making it its own zone? That's my only concern, and the only reason I bring it up is because of the issues that we've had previously. Definitions of spot zoning. You know, we've had a couple of attorneys that have come up with different definitions of spot zoning. So that's where I'm thinking, okay, you know, if it's allowed within a zone.
I don't think it'd be allowed in your density. way too restrictive. Transitional agricultural,
Yeah.
possibly, yep, and it doesn't, essentially state residential.
That's where I would say that it would be incompatible. uses
Yeah, it wouldn't
and
be compatible with agriculture.
It'd be not your white areas on that future land use map. You would basically say they couldn't do that. You could make a concert. I suppose the other option would be to make a conservation subdivision zoning classification that somebody could rezone to that would be allowed within certain future land use designations.
So what they would have to do, Mark, if they're in the land use. It could be. That's when it's spun.
Yeah.
Then we wouldn't, then it'd be hard for us to support the transition plans. There's a lot of things you'd have to look at. Not to say we would support plan development next to name one that transition to this next. There's a lot of things you have to. It's not a slam dunk.
No, and I don't want to make it so difficult because it's. I like the idea, like the concept and everything. Just that's.
These transition and you see them.
They'd be a good place.
A good place.
Maybe
Reserve.
where you have some high ground here and there that people, that you probably have a market for people that would be looking for that type of a home and still want to preserve those kind of natural corridor features. So now I think that I've usually seen them as they come and do a plan unit development because everyone tends to be a little different based on whatever they're dealing with. And they also may want to put restrictions on their own. The applicant will propose the PUD. It won't be the county, here's your PUD that you need to follow. It's, yeah, we'll entertain a plan unit development there. What are you thinking? So the applicant comes to you guys and says, here's what I'm thinking. And it may or may not align directly with one of your other zoning classifications. It might be something a little unique. That then they are also going to require of each one of those lots. Like maybe it has a certain design element to it. Maybe it has, almost like restrictive covenants only built into that planned unit development type thing. They also might, they might do different lot. They might have a smaller lot size, and maybe they're going to do a community well and a community septic. That the ones that I've seen, there's one up on St. Croix River called Marine on St. Croix where they have a community septic and a community well. And like 1 acre lots, because they didn't need that extra. Well, there's no zoning in the county that allowed for 1 acre lots because of that they're normally, you have to have a primary, secondary, septic fields and then your private well. But when they put it through the PUD and said, well, we're going to do this community thing and that's going to be owned and operated by the homeowners association, they were able to have the flexibility through the planned unit development. As opposed to 12, 20, 30 different variances from different parts of the code. They just basically said, we're going to create a district just for this parcel, just for this, not parcel, just for this development. So that's.
Which is good if you're the developer, if you're the person developing it. If you're the person that lives next to it,
Sure.
You're going to look at it and you're going to see spots.
See what?
Spots.
No,
That's what I'm trying to.
That's why the public hearing, that's why there's the public hearing. And when they cluster, they'll be able to preserve certain areas and then they get something that they protect.
And
they also protect the agricultural areas too.
Right. And the spot zoning piece is making a decision as long as we put in the mechanism through the comprehensive plan and where certain districts are allowed, as long as we say a planned unit development is an allowed rezoning within these categories. It's not a spot zoning at that point because it's an allowed, it's allowed in that sense, in that you're not saying, well, This doesn't really meet the land use plan, the future land use plan at all, but we're gonna go ahead and rezone this parcel out here in the middle of nowhere, that kind of thing. That tends to be more the spot zoning. The other piece that it would be applicant driven at that point too. It's not a lot of the spot zoning stuff that really is trouble is when a city comes in and spot, or a county comes in and spot zone something. Now, Jeff's right. The people next to it that don't want anything to do with it may scream and yell and all that kind of stuff, but they would do that if anybody was gonna do something, they would do it. So you're just kind of opening up a way to preserve some of those corridors, but also allow people some different flexibility in the housing product that they could get. And like I said, the nice thing is they would be think of it as if they would be buying into some type of development that would have this kind of conservation feel to it without having to take care of, 12 acres. They could just take care of that 2-acre parcel. Now, you probably, if we put this in there, you might get a few of them, but it's not going to be a deluge. That's just not usually how it works.
I guess I see it more as a different option.
It's flexibility. I mean, you have a Bill Brizzy County. Trees.
Well, we can certainly add that as a goal. But we can add it as a goal, and
something that's good in the two.
Yes. Well, yeah, you're really just you're just really opening up the option, and then you wait for an option.
How many counties are doing?
I would say probably half have some way. Right, because they realize that there's folks that want some flexibility, and that's what the PUD allows without 30 different variances from the code kind of thing. You can sort of create your own district, but it still goes through public rezoning process. Cities use, if you look at West Des Moines zoning map, there's PUDs all over it. They're a prolific user of, if this developer comes in and wants to do this commercial, mixed use type thing, they just have to go through the PUD process so they can get all of that on the table and adopt it so that they know what it's going to look like. What else, Jeff? Like it.
They used to be real sticky because I don't know. They used to be able to extract from. That's channels across the country. Say, well, we're going to give you all this density. Want you to pay more park dedication. We want you to do, based on the facts.
So you can't do part time. You can't do part speed.
Asking the developer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Say we have a big butt. That's probably the best thing. The best example, you got 40-acre piece, 30-acre spots. And then your density is basically 2 acres, you got just 20. So you're not going to be able to do 20-acre, 2-acre lots. We preserve the wetlands, make that a neat feature. Maybe you could fish off of it and put a dock in. That's what we extract. Well, parking lot in there, put a dock in there.
In Scott County, Minnesota, which if you're familiar with Shakopee, like where that is from the Twin Cities, they give a density bonus if you do a cluster subdivision. If you go through the land unit development process to do a subdivision like that, they'll give you a bonus. So maybe normally on that property you might get 10 homes if you spread them all out and did that kind of thing. If you do the cluster subdivision, they'll give you 5 more, whatever. I don't remember exactly the ratio it is, but they'll give you a density bonus, so you can get more lots
if you
do that type of development. Yep.
It's interesting. All right, that's all I had. I mean, when I went through it, mine's just in terms of
Yeah, big, I would say the big stuff. What other big stuff? Nothing jumped out like. Say it's not superbly different than what you were looking for. It's better. They read a little better.
There's that trend.
No.
No?
Oh my gosh, I got to a point last night where it just all turned into one big word salad, and I wasn't even thinking. One of the, I saw that you'd added in here all the adjacent counties,
Oh, in
the
the,
information on the adjacent counties.
yeah. That have comp plans.
Yeah.
Yes. We got a couple that don't have zoning, so they don't have.
Well, I mean, and I'm still struggling with what we're doing. Patient, Jeff, or entire comp plan.
Focusing, it's getting rid of all that redundant since someone wants to go up and like how you keep it concise, subjective. Focus on the land use. It was all fun before. Plan in 2017.
Yeah.
Probably hired Schneider to put that together, but nice place. Why?
Well, it changed after, right after it was adopted, that was out of date. That's,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
yeah, I decided to do that, stuff like that. So,
So
Okay,
we,
so I got into chapter 6.
well, that is a word salad.
It
You
is.
would- Yes,
Yeah.
It's just the one thing that I mean, again, I was under the impression we were just doing a transportation. Do our comp plan for transportation, but we're apparently doing an entire comprehensive plan update. You know, I see nothing in here about any of our communities, all the towns. You don't want to put anything in. Right now.
That's the towns are their own separate, you know, they adopt their own zoning ordinances, their own comp plan.
We have
I don't
that
know, you
information.
guys ever put stuff in there about
We
other
sent
towns?
like a brief summary, but we would include that in the minutes.
it would be in that
The county
appendix
code.
A that we would just say, if they had a comp plan, if the cities had a comp plan that was current, or if they had growth plans, we would include those in appendix A.
For the
As-
same reason why we include the adjacent counties, just for
Just for
keeping it,
reference.
yeah, for regional plans.
Well,
I think
I mean,
in
the way our zoning ordinance is written, I mean, it's within 2 miles, any type of development over 2 miles. I've had something come up recently. When short, so, you know, if that language isn't in the court date, you know, that's important. So, folks to- But in my mind, people stay out of the city business. Or let them do what they want.
We
I
did,
mean,
so-
that's their.
I hear that, but you know, our.
But they're all.
Why should we help promote that? Self-promotion. But
I mean, we're not. Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, they're
it
their own.
seems
they're
silly.
their own-
I'm happy to
yeah,
put
well,
that
We don't wanna,
information
we don't
back
wanna meddle in their politics.
I'm not talking
No.
about meddling in their politics.
No.
What I'm talking about is at least making a reference to them. And saying, I mean, look at how things that Gowrie is doing, and at least make some sort of reference to them. And if you don't want to put a whole lot in, at least put a contact number, you know? I mean, we're the county, we're all of those people together. And I just feel like excluding that, but yet we've got information on our surrounding counties. But when you're talking about development, why would you have this information on the surrounding counties when we're not talking about chances and opportunities for development outside Duncombe or outside Gowrie? You know, our towns that are right here within our county that have elected our supervisors that pay taxes here. It just seems like they should be represented here somewhere.
I absolutely agree. Do you want that in the county profile or in the introduction?
I think. you
Well,
could-
Jeff doesn't want it also.
I think, so here's,
You have to take them out
here's
back.
the I would say that here's the compromise is, I think it would be best to add it to Appendix A. We have some of that data. And we'll just do a spray, you know, like we've done for Wright County here. We'll just do a spread for each one of the cities that has whatever current mapping we can find that they have for future growth and some contact information.
Well, I remember having a conversation about this, and this was probably a zoning administrator. We talked about the fact that there really wasn't a lot of mention to our communities. And, you know, if I'm in Moreland or, you know, Calendar or anything, if I get a mention in this and somebody sees that, isn't that a bonus for me? I mean, to say, well, they're standing on their own, you know, are they or are they not? And why would I put together a comprehensive plan or have any planning going on if I'm not included in this? If I look at it as a way to say to the communities, look, you know, you're all part of Webster County. Let's get you a mention in here. And if you've got a plan, get it to us or get a contact number, something. And when somebody starts looking at Webster County, they'll say, oh, well, we've got all these little communities. I mean, I think that's a big deal for us. We have all these great little communities, you know, and I just feel like after reading through this, I just feel like that's left out.
Well, as a goal, intergovernmental coordination. So like, right, if there's a development proposal within 2 miles, you know, that we coordinate with.
I'd say that is in there. The intergovernmental, like we have goals and strategies for working with your partner communities to grow. I'm totally fine with adding a page in the appendix for each one of those communities that includes whatever growth plans they have. And, you know, maybe we could even pitch it a little bit like for, you know, more information and growth opportunities, contact this person in our. Okay.
Story County.
Yeah, well, it had in the future land use map, which kind of looks like yours does now, we had those kind of growth plans for those communities. Little different dynamics in the rural areas because you guys don't necessarily have a Huxley or a Story City, not yet, but they had, like Huxley had plans for growth. And, you know, because they were south of Ames and were picking up on that. Nevada had plans for growth because they were on 30. So if we could get that information in there, and we had that when it was available, but
well, if you look at where we put these corridors, overlays, the transportation, you know, close to Barnum, close to Gowrie, put it close to these communities.
You hope they'll take advantage of it.
That would be wonderful. I mean, and I'm not saying that they're going to take advantage of it tomorrow, but if this is a long-term plan, I think we should have just planned it.
Yep.
Let's reference the importance of transportation. And we can mention that more information about the communities is needed.
Yep.
That was something that I thought.
Well, that's
good. I mean,
good idea.
It needs to be in there because.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking big long stories or anything. I just because they are, you know, big part of Western County. I mean, you don't.
Let me see.
Still part of the counties.
Yep.
I mean, situation. And like I said, if I know, if I'm the counter, if I'm the town, and I know that that's what we need to pay, you know, put this in the comp plan. We should be looking at our areas and be in how.
Yep. Well, and they may even update something and then send it to you guys to be like, hey, can you update Appendix A of your comp plan and add this new information in, that type of thing. So there's kind of that cross record. Okay. Sounds good.
So how did that section turn out to be? I mean, I'm hoping it gets broken up with Just was.
So it is,
that normal?
it's a bit of a word, it is normal, it is a bit of a word salad. What it does is it builds, so if you go back to like chapter 3 and chapter 4, you'll see the goals and the strategies are in those. And then what it is it's all of those put together into one spot along with the action steps. And the action steps are, you know, we kept it fairly concise. If you look at the old plan, there was the implementation pieces of it. You guys probably didn't do a lot of it because they weren't easy to read and in one spot. So while this is a lot of information in one spot, it's a lot of information in one spot. That's the bonus of it, is that somebody could pick up just this implementation chapter and be like, here's our checklist for what we need to be doing for the next year or next 2 years. And specifically the action items are things that once they're done, you may check them off and say, okay, we need to replace action item B1 with another action item to help get to this goal, because they're meant to be things that expire.
I don't think we've talked about the implementation matrix very much since we started this process.
Yep.
What we'll do in this next column is prioritize each of the action items and then list under the strategies what the partners and potential funding sources are for each strategy. And then the action items will give you an Excel spreadsheet that we have of each of those, so that as you're working on these action items, you can go through and check it off and change that as a working document.
And that would be that would be kind of countywide, because a lot of the action items are not just Plan and Zoning Commission. It's board of supervisors, it's the other departments.
That's kind of what to me this section read like. It almost read like this is for
Everybody.
well, it read like it was for board, board of supervisors, planning and zoning, board of adjustment, that kind of thing. Not for I'm on the board and I respect.
But it's not for, it is not really, it's not for it would be for the general public to reference, I guess, and you would I see more the goals and the strategies as, if you had somebody who wanted to develop, they should be looking at, okay, I want to do something and it's not exactly on that map. It's not exactly what's on that map, or it's not exactly or it's just outside of this overlay zone or that kind of thing. They should be able to use this comprehensive plan to argue as to why this meets these goals too, because we can't draw everything on a map in a color that's going to be perfect 5 years from now and exactly what it's going to look like. We need that map to change. And in order for that map to change, you guys are going to either have to say, oh, we need to change this map, we need to expand this overlay zone, or this needs to be a different, future land use classification. Or you may have people coming in from the general public that say, I would really like to do this here, and I think it meets goals, 3, 4, and 5 under your land use plan. Can you consider this? And then you consider it based on the goals and the strategies, not just, well, that color doesn't match what's on our map. Change the maps. So it provides a pathway for those folks as well. But you're right, the action plan is primarily for county, for the staff and your elected and appointed officials.
But you're right, we have a case like that. It's consistency without furthers these goals.
Yep.
Okay, consistency with the zoning. No, it's not consistent.
Oh, yeah. If it's something that's horrible, you could say this doesn't meet any of our goals. This works against all of our goals.
It also helps support funding. So if in the transportation or the trail section or the recreation section, if the county wants to seek new trail funding, referencing the comprehensive plan along with the green space plan and various plans will help increase the likelihood of getting those funds.
From a formatting standpoint, I was struggling with it. There's really no way to get these to another, one of the earlier sections, because they're so.
It's a little bit redundant as it is, because the goals and the strategies are in the earlier sections. We don't want to make it too redundant, I guess is kind of where we're at. We're adding the action piece. We could, I suppose the other option, if you wanted to, is you could drop the implementation chapter not all together. You could drop a lot of the implementation chapter in terms of the chart and just give that to you guys as an Excel sheet, because the goals and strategies are in the previous chapters, but then it's not all in one spot. It's spread out between 3 chapters.
That's what I was struggling with when I was going through it, is I think it's just this in with the chapter that's referencing where, so you
Where-
talked about this.
Yeah, so, and then the other stuff that Sarah said she would add is some priority. So there will be other columns added to these that'll be priority, like, is this an immediate need? Is this an ongoing need? Is this a 3 to 5 year or a 5 to 10 year need? Action, and then any champions, like who's gonna lead the charge on this? Is it public health? Is it plan and zoning? Is it the board? Is it staff? Is it maybe somebody economic development, the chamber or something like that? And then also any funding sources that we know of that would help achieve that action. Like if that action is find funding for this, then we'll list the funding sources that are available in Iowa for those types of projects. So to kind of serve as a guide for somebody that would just pick it up and need to run with it. Maybe it's a new, commission member, maybe it's a new supervisor, that they'd have a good reference of, here's our guide for the next few years.
Does having the information in Appendix A on review
No, because it's gonna be out of date. It's probably already out of date. So we always put it at the back so that it isn't a main focus of the plan, because the main focus of the plan is the goals and the objectives moving forward, as well as, in this case, it's your future land use section and your transportation, your corridor overlays. That's the meat of this comprehensive plan. The stuff that's in Appendix A is important because it provides some context and it provides some reference for some of the decisions that were made, and also, looking at, what Calhoun County is doing and that kind of thing. But it's going to be out of date the minute we put it out. So we put it in the back, we put it in its own section. Part of the reason is you could update that appendix fairly easily in 10 years. And maybe you continue to update the action steps and you've updated your map, right? You may not need to update a lot of the goals. They may still be good, solid. They're pretty high level, right? They're not very particular, I guess. The action steps are yes, this is something to do. This is something we can check off. The goals you can't really check off. They're not a check off type of thing. Those we hope will last throughout the length of the plan. But that Appendix A information, we put it in a separate county profile so that it can be updated in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is.
I just don't want it to be confusing if there's changes between the two, but somebody gets a reference and say, oh, well.
That's, and again, that's why.
It's like a clump thing all over again.
Right,
Yeah.
and we do not have the clump in here at all. That clump is gone, so we were looking for it.
No, that's,
Sorry.
but that's what I'm looking at this going, okay, the 2009 is still in here, is that?
Yeah,
gonna be an issue?
so part of the reason that reference is in there is to show somebody that this isn't a new development in Webster County. This is not brand new on it. Like if they came into the meeting, the public open house, that kind of thing, we're like, what are you guys doing? I can't believe you're doing this. You could say, no, this is an update. If you look at Appendix A, our old comprehensive plan is in there. We're just updating it going forward. So some of that argument is there for that reason, and to show some context of, and there's, several of our neighboring counties have plans and that kind of thing. This is something we do responsibly as a commission and the board of supervisors to help facilitate good growth. Yeah, I'd say that one comes up a lot. That, what are you guys doing now? Like if it's somebody who doesn't know there's a current comp plan, we have to say, no, just update.
Well, I'm just thinking of.
Yeah, you guys,
It's in your comp.
I would say, hopefully the board of supervisors and you guys were able to say, this is a guide. This is not a code. This is not an ordinance document. Your zoning ordinance is your subdivision regulations are that is law. This is not law. The only piece that it even enters into the conversation really is that future land use map, in that Iowa zoning enabling says that you should make a zoning decision referencing a future land use map. That's it.
You can see how people would get confused with the old comp plan though, because they call them policies in the previous comp plan.
Yeah.
So people thinking they're the county policy, not recommendations of the policy.
Try to stay away from some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are always you're always gonna have that argument.
It was a lot of work. It was a good job.
That's why we
Well,
labeled it goals, strategies and action
Part of
items.
what the comp plan is.
I was thinking it's a little, yeah, it's,
And zoning ordinance is law. Land use map, that's-
Right.
It does, yeah, it helps. It's really a working document. Um, It's really its own simple zoning.
say Minnesota has that too, especially up like the Twin Cities area. Their law, it's law, the comp plans, you have to apply to the Met Council to
Oh,
make
yeah,
the
Met
comp
Council,
plan. You could, like, you guys, if you were part of, you know, basically they'd be like sending your comp plan to Des Moines to say, we'd like to change this. So that's why I'm glad that comp plans are not law in Iowa, and it's just a guide. So
Man, yeah.
busy and strung out. I'd go into finished carpentry, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, other than, yeah, a few typos.
Yeah.
That happens.
So we'll fix up the zoning.
As
matrix.
if they're out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's just as, I mean, that was,
We'll have it QC before we, the final copy comes out.
yeah.
Okay, so what are our next steps, Sarah? After we get some edits and clean that stuff
Another
up?
thing I really wanted to do is just like.
Oh, okay. Yep. Center's
But I
good.
got a bunch of.
Yeah, I was just saying, however you want to scan it, and send it, or drop it off, whatever, and we can pick it up. I'll be here. I'll be in Humboldt tomorrow. Stop by. Tomorrow night. Are you gonna be around tomorrow night? I got Dakota City's meeting at 7.
Oh, that's.
So, from here, we'll revise this draft plan. And then we'll present it at the open house. We can send it out to you all before the open house if you'd like to review the next draft. After the open house, we'll take any of the public feedback back and revise it one more time before we submit it for adoption.
Getting back to. Yeah, on the website.
I'll send the
I'll
flyers.
do my best.
Bring a cool beer.
Bring one of these meetings. I won't be at that one.
These are official meetings. I can't do that.
But we'll send out the stakeholders.
Yes.
So we'll do our best.
Local cities. And as far as galleries, downtown, let them know.
Yep, I would say Sarah has her contacts from when she went out and spread out the surveys and talked to those folks, so we can catch up with them again and let them know. There's a flyer, if you could post it, that'd be great.
So for the format of that meeting, we'll talk more.
That's what we normally, yeah, we have stations set up, so we'll have different stations, like we'll have, obviously, like for this plan, get a future land use station, get kind of a process station, so that people can see, here's the process we went through. You do a future land use station and then a transportation overlay station. Have those stations out and then do, I would say, in the past, I've done like a quick 10-minute presentation twice, you know, like kind of like the first hour and then do it again the second hour, just in case you get different folks. And then, yeah, have them go back to their stations.
So open budget on this.
Yes. It's a lump sum. it's lump sum. We have a scope, that's what we gotta do. We said we'd do this scope for this money and off we go.
It's just like I said, it's a lot more than just transportation
That's a fact.
situation. And I guess I don't want to be misleading
Sure.
to public. You know, the fact that we really aren't changing that many other things.
Yeah.
But I mean, we didn't really,
It is.
Oh, I see.
yeah, we really didn't advertise it as a whole comp plan. Transportation. Or,
Yeah, if you needed to, feel free, Jeff has a copy of our proposal. I can get you a copy of our proposal that goes through at the beginning, what we proposed and the scope of it, which included updating the comprehensive plan, adding this transportation piece, and then making zoning and subdivision regulation changes to help implement the plan. That was basically what we put together off of your guys' RFP was they need to update the comp plan, they need the transportation corridor plan as part of that update, and we need to amend the zoning ordinances and subdivision regulations to help implement the plan. All as one big package. So that's what we proposed on, that's what the contract's for, and the amount was within the budget that you guys had put out there for the project.
In terms of the subdivision.
Oh, just zoning, we haven't.
Because I mean, subdivision.
Yeah, so I would say if everything's fine, then we don't need to, but yeah. We are, in that sense, we're not charging any more than we said we would. We're all within, or, we're within our contract, and I'm totally fine with that being publicly available, because we've followed it pretty close from what we said we were gonna do, where we're at.
yes,
Yeah, I mean, we're not.
Any the reorganization, I want to call it at best, it's a reorganization. Yeah,
we've been talking about doing a comp plan. Yes. I had maybe. But we really wanted to, we felt our comp plan needed to be updated. For our statistics for survey. So to me, it just feels like I've been doing this for a really long time.
Yep.
Trying to get the comp plan updated, and I just want to make sure we're all good.
Yep. I would say
Money
you,
wise, supervisors are okay with it. Then are you going to share final draft with supervisors or the final?
Comp plan is still, I mean, look at. Goal of these.
Yeah.
Highlighted. And.
Yep. I would say
Even though we have a solar.
if you do run into any issues or, confusion with the board on that, please have them call me. I'm happy to talk to them and walk through kind of what we proposed and what we're doing and where we're at.
I mean, and I had a conversation with Supervisor Campbell. Kind of, okay, now what is it you want to, always look at transportation.
They budgeted
I'm like,
enough to
okay.
get it done, so.
Which, yeah, I'm okay with doing.
You just want to make sure that we're not ruffling any feathers.
I want to make sure we're doing it within budget. budget. I want to make sure we're doing what the supervisors asked us to do. And I want to make sure that we have been honest with the public on what we're doing, to make sure that we've gotten all the equipment. So,
I believe all of those bases are covered. I think we're in good shape.
That's very. So if you guys have any changes, modifications. send them.
any other comments? Thank you guys for.
Absolutely.
Start working on the changes.
I don't know if Allison, but when you get that language put together, can you email that to all the board members, just so we can kind of, I know that was. How was it?
The ordinance will be drafted
If the change.
with your changes. It's gonna be.
There was a lot of information.
Yeah, and there's something in there, deconditioning. I was able to talk to Darren, just want to make sure he felt. Yeah, some of the engineering.
As long as you get the wetlands figured out. Definition.
Yeah, that,
Any legal.
I'll have to. She's in there. The,
That's
I'll
all.
get it out to you, Mongo, and then you can,
Just so the board can,
I wanna get that done sooner or later, that way you can look at it before you actually
before
put
you
them all
present,
together. Yeah.
you're hoping to do that.
I don't know what the board's.
I mean,
I mean, I think there's a lot of important stuff in there, I think. Change things.
that's what I was. They.
Reason. Recommended.
Nobody else has anything, ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion, do I have a second? Those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.